The Carnival of Agony. The unbelievable true story of the 1904 St. Louis Olympic Marathon. It was not a race. It was a man-made catastrophe set to the rhythm of footsteps. Prologue. The heat and the hubris. The date was August 30, 1904. The place was St. Louis, Missouri. The United States was celebrating the dawn of a new century with the Louisiana Purchase Exposition, more commonly known as the World's Fair. It was a grand testament to American ingenuity, featuring grand palaces, new technologies like the X-ray machine, and the public debut of the ice cream cone. But amidst the Ferris wheels and electric lights, a darker, more bizarre event was about to take place: the third Olympic marathon. If you were to design a nightmare scenario for long-distance runners, you could not have done a better job than the organizers of the 1904 Games. The temperature had soared to over 90 degrees Fahrenheit, 32 degrees Celsius, with humidity so thick it felt like breathing through a wet wool blanket. The roads were not paved. They were dirt trails buried under inches of fine, choking dust. But the most dangerous element that day wasn't the heat or the terrain. It was the science of the time. James Sullivan, the chief organizer of the Games, wanted to test a theory on purposeful dehydration. He believed that drinking water during exercise made athletes weak. To prove this, he designated only one water station for the entire 24.85-mile course, a dirty well located at the 11-mile mark. 32 men lined up at the starting gun. Only 14 would finish. What happened in between wasn't just a sporting event. It was a macabre comedy of errors involving raw eggs, rat poison, wild dogs, and a dishonest hitchhiker. Chapter 1. The Motley Crew. The lineup of athletes looked less like an elite Olympic squad and more like the cast of a vaudeville show. While there were a few serious American runners, the field was populated by an eclectic mix of characters that history would never forget. Thomas Hicks, an American representing Cambridge, Massachusetts, was the favorite. Serious, stoic, and experienced, he was determined to win gold for the USA on home soil. Fred Lors, a bricklayer from New York, was a charismatic jokester. He had trained at night after long days of manual labor and was known for his speed, though his endurance was questionable. Then there was Felix Carvajal, a 5-foot-tall former mailman from Cuba. He had raised money for his trip to the U.S. by running around Havana and begging. Upon arriving in New Orleans, he lost all his money in a dice game and had to walk and hitchhike nearly 700 miles to St. Louis. He arrived at the starting line minutes before the race, in wearing heavy street shoes, long trousers, and a beret. An American discus thrower, taking pity on him, found a pair of scissors and cut Carvajal's pants into jagged shorts so he wouldn't overheat. Perhaps the most surprising entrants were Len Tao and Jan Mashiani. They were Tswana tribesmen from South Africa who were actually in St. Louis to take part in a Boer War reenactment at the World's Fair. They ran barefoot. They were the first black Africans to ever compete in the modern Olympics. At 3:03 p.m.
Chapter 5. The Science Experiment. While Lors was playing his prank, the real leader of the race, Thomas Hicks, was entering a realm of physical hell. By mile 10, Hicks was exhausted. The dehydration was setting in. He begged his support crew for water. They refused. Remember, James Sullivan wanted to prove that water was bad for runners. Instead, his trainers, Hugh McGrath and Charles Lucas, decided to administer performance-enhancing drugs. But in 1904, they didn't have Gatorade or steroids. They had strychnine. Strychnine is a rat poison. In small doses, it acts as a stimulant, twitching the nervous system into action. In larger doses, it kills you instantly. At mile 19, seeing Hicks slowing down, his trainers mixed strychnine sulfate with raw egg whites and forced it down his throat. Hicks's eyes glazed over, his face turned ashen gray. He began to hallucinate. He thought the finish line was 20 miles away, even though it was only a few miles. He begged to lie down and die. His trainers refused to let him stop. When the strychnine wore off and his legs went limp, they gave him another dose of rat poison. To wash it down, they gave him a swig of brandy. The combination of heat, severe dehydration, raw eggs, rat poison, and alcohol turned Hicks into a zombie. He was no longer running, he was shuffling. His trainers literally had to hold him up, running alongside him and massaging his legs as he moved. Chapter 6: The Finish Line. Inside the Olympic Stadium, the crowd was confused. They had just cheered for Fred Lors, only to be told he was a fraud. Now they waited for the true winner. Finally, Thomas Hicks appeared. He looked like a corpse in motion. He was hallucinating that he was running